Hey everybody, Lex from PDQ.com. We're talking intelligent packages today. Maybe that's ironic that I'm doing it, but got Jordan help me out today, so we're going to jump in and talk a little bit about what makes a package intelligent.
And we're actually going to start with that question.
I was going to say, we got a question.
We do have a question to kick off the show today. And it is from our good friend Marcel. He would simply like to know, what is an intelligent package, and does it have AI?
I'm going to definitively answer that, yes. There's a lot of A and I. No, I don't know. Jordan, what do you think?
I was looking into it, and I did find this Skynet.exe that I tried running. I'm sure there'll be no consequences, but it seems to be working great.
AI, Skynet, I love it. Let's go with that. So, all right. So, a couple of things that are involved in, obviously, intelligent packages. One, conditions, right? So, some good ways to see conditions. We have a lot of our pre-built packages, say 7-zip, have got conditions at the package level or at the step level. Again, if you grab a step here and you go to conditions, you'll notice we're doing a step to install a 32-bit version of 7-zip, and right here, it's only going to install that 32-bit on a 32-bit machine. So that's a version of intelligence, which I kind of like. I mean, it makes it very, very usable and very dynamic from that aspect. The other thing you can do is, again, you can reference in your own packages collections that you made, so you have logic there. Jordan, thoughts?
The best intelligence is the one that we don't have to come up with. So we've built a lot into it by default that will remove a lot of the questions you have on making sure you're hitting the right targets.
Absolutely. And a good example of that is, let's just take a look at our Windows 10 cumulative updates. In this case, I got the one that does the 64-bit version of 2004 or 2009. And you'll notice at runtime on these installs, each of these steps actually goes and checks the registry key right here for the pattern there. So again, if you accidentally send this out, this package is smart enough, it's not going to install on like 1909, 1903. So that's part of it. What we're going to do today is take this a step further. Okay, so these are tools at your disposal. Jordan and I, in a moment of brilliance, and it was a short one, came up with a way to do a package that actually interacts with your end user. So what we're going to show you today is how you can send a deployment out, ask an end user if they want to delay it, and then have it run again later. Jordan, any additions to that?
Well, my first thought was Jordan and I, where I believe you said, "Hey, do you think you could do this in PowerShell?"
That's
and
right.
then I wrote it.
Yeah, you've never. The thing I love about that question is he never says no, I can't do it. So
But as far as the reasoning, this might come in handy. Like in the case of 7-zip, the first step it does is it kills the process of 7-zip.
Absolutely.
So if that was critical to their job and you don't know if they're working on it or not, and you don't want to kill it, this will give the user a chance to say, "Not right now, try again later."
Or just delay it because they're in the middle of doing something important. So
In this case, we'll give them 5 tries and then we'll just do it anyway.
is that what we're going to do?
I think so.
You're much nicer than me. All right. Pre-built this because obviously you guys have seen me type. And honestly, that is too much typing for me. So what we're going to start off is we've got a PowerShell script. And here's kind of the outline of what it's going to do. It's going to ask the end user, do you want to have this installation now? If they say no, it's going to put a file on that machine with a count in it. Okay. And then the schedule will kick this off again. I'll show you how to build the schedule. But ultimately, this gives them a certain number of times to say no before we just force it down their throat, right?
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, they're just saying no because they don't want to, not because they can't.
Yeah, all right. So just how this breaks down right now, guys, we're calling this countdown PS1. Jordan will explain all the details of that towards the end. He's got a parameter here for a timeout, so we're going to give them 10 seconds to answer. If they don't answer, it's going to automatically kick off. You may want to give them a little more time than that, but for the web show today, this is what we'll do. And then we're going to give them 3 attempts. Okay, they get 3 delays. Now, what we are going to do is I'm going to add a nested package step here, which is, let's do that install 7-zip. Okay, install 7-zip. Any, man, we just like that one because it's easy.
Yeah, one thing to think of is, I mean, if this works, if you want to do multiple installs all in one, you could do multiple nested, but The reason we parameterize that to change it there is if you have multiple bits of software to do at different times, you can recreate that package and just change the parameters in that package itself without having to modify the PowerShell script.
Absolutely. So at this point, I should probably rename this, right? Delay
Test was very descriptive.
dash maybe 7-zip, so we know there's a possible delay on 7-zip. All right, with this, we'll save that. I need to make a schedule for this to run. Now, we're going to delay this an hour, right? So they can delay it up to an hour. So the schedule for this, to make this work the way I want it, because we're going to get 7-zip out to all the machines that need it, we're going to do a new schedule. I am going to preface this with delay so we know that there's a possible delay on this for 7-zip. Zip, there we go. Now, triggers on this. We're going to run this on an interval. We're going to do it, we'll say once an hour, and I want this to run on the hour. So again, pick an hour that it's going to start running on, and then it'll run every 60 minutes. So I think 11 o'clock is good at this point because it gives me an hour to try and get through this before it kicks off on its own. But all right, targets, pretty simple. Again, we're going after machines that don't have 7-zip. So I'm going to go to the inventory collection. I'm going to go pull the machines that don't have 7-zip installed at that point. Now, any other caveats or thoughts in regards to the scheduling of this?
Well, you do want to make sure that you have checked the stop if it was successful.
Mm-hmm.
That way, if something does go wrong, you're not going to try to install it multiple times.
Okay. The other thing, it's taking a minute for this to load our collections into cache, is we are also going to build a scanner so that we can tell which machines have had the opportunity and have delayed actual running the install.
Yep.
Did you inhaled? I thought you had something.
I was just saying, we're using this collection for an example, but we did not remove the one we built in our dry run, so I don't think there are any machines that don't have it installed.
I hope we're good here. We'll find out momentarily. Let's see. 7-zip. So I can pull the collection up and find it. But all right, so there's my schedule, right? Delay 7-zip. Stop deploying targets once they succeed. Thumbs up. We'll give that an okay. All right. Now on the other side here, let's go and build that scanner. Now this PowerShell scanner is pretty easy. So I will explain this one because there's just not a lot to it. Basically what we're going to go look for is, when the end user does click that they want to delay it, they say no, we are going to build the countdown text file and temp path here. It's going to go, if that file exists, get the name of it, the last write time, and how many attempts are left in there. So that's that. So to build that, we go to scan profiles. We'll do a new scanner. We'll call this, because it is PowerShell PS. Delay in this case, we'll say 7-zip, just because it's very descriptive for what it is. All right, Jordan, when you built this, any thoughts or?
Well, for our example there, I hard-coded the location of the file in there. In the one that I have up on the GitHub, it is just a variable, so you only have to change it in one spot if you don't want to use the ctemp. So it is a little bit, I guess, more intelligently designed now. Okay.
Now the other thing, right? We've got that schedule running on the hour. You can schedule your scanners to run, and we're going to do just that. We're going to schedule this scanner to run on an interval. It's also going to run every hour, but we are going to have it run 10 minutes prior to the schedule kicking off, so that we get some pretty decent information in regards to, what's going on. Now, if you got big environments, probably want to make maybe 15 minutes, but again,
it's a very fast scan. It really is. If this file is here, then look at information within it. There's no deep dive. There's not a lot. So it goes very fast, but something maybe tested a few times in your environment to make sure you're leaving enough of a buffer with the 10 minutes.
Absolutely. And the other thing to do to minimize the number of machines that we are actually going to hit with this, we're going to go after the specific 7-zip not installed machines in this case. So again, it's going to run and it's going to limit it not to the entire network, just the ones we're concerned about at this point. So we'll give that an okay. And I am going to kick that off because we did actually do a little pre-work, so we had something to show you guys. So I'll go ahead and scan collection. I'm just going to run that against All the machines.
Going to be disappointed.
Am I going to be disappointed?
It successfully ran when we were in the pre-show. So
Did it really?
Yeah. So everything that we had set up is removed because it doesn't need the file. It was done. We don't want to leave trace.
Are you kidding me? No. So all that work we did. Well, let's find out, because I'm now going to build a report to find out that it ran because we didn't delete it. So in this case, again, when you build a PowerShell scanner, you're going to have a new table, right? New report, basic report. I want the computers where yeah, it did, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Where the new PowerShell table 7 delayed, we are going to have don't necessarily need the name because I know the name of the file, but I want the last edit. And I also want the current count. You know, you're right, Jordan. This is not going to we had something to show you guys, but okay.
If we successfully hit no on any of those, then that one would have something, but...
Dealy 7-zip. So we're having a bad dealy today. But
Delali.
what we'll do is we'll run this after we actually try and run this one. Oh, check it out. I stopped it in time.
All right.
All right. So this is what it looks like. Obviously, yesterday, guys, I ran this at 147 and said everybody had 2. But these are the machines we'll say that did, in actuality, said no to that deployment. So lucky us.
All right, we did it.
All right. Should we take a question before we actually start attempting to run this and see what happens?
Hey guys, wondering if there are plans to add the ability to remove steps from the package library packages. For instance, I want Edge to always be up to date, but all the steps are grayed out. Jay Beck.
So Jay, let's say you're doing Edge or Chrome, either way, right? Any of the ones you download from us, they are going to, if you open them up, be grayed out. That's because they're auto download packages, okay? Again, probably know this. If you want to change these steps, you are going to have to go into the properties, options, convert to standard package. Now, it will give you this warning that says it's not going to be an auto download package anymore. But there, now I can edit this, modify it, okay? My suggestion, if there are things you want to do and keep that auto download feature on that, either hit it with pre-conditions or pre-steps or post-steps, so that you know, let's say you want to undo the fact that we disable the auto update, but you still want to get the latest version, just reverse that in the post-step. Jordan, thoughts?
That was the only thing I could think of. Once we make it editable like that, we can't account for it if it's downloading the new one. So it's that's why, I mean, the post steps do work great. It's just one extra step to add, and it will maintain that step through the updates. So.
That it will. Do we have another question?
Dear Lex and Jordan, would it be any advantage or disadvantage to using a registry key instead of file to keep up with the number of attempts? Thanks, JBC.
You know, I think that's mostly a preference. Tattoo in the registry, I believe the only time I want to put something in the registry is if it's significant and I'm not going to delete it. That's my personal preference. So I try not to do that unless it's something I want to stay there permanently. Jordan?
Either one's going to work fine.
It will.
Either way, it's creating an entry and then modifying as it goes.
Yeah,
So
whether you read a file or read the registry, it's up to you.
yeah. So if you'd rather do registry, it wouldn't take a whole lot of change to make that work for the script.
Absolutely. All right. Should we do a drum roll and see if our stuff works?
I'm actually pretty confident
Are
for
you
once.
pretty confident?
It's a new feeling for me. I'm liking it.
Oh, all righty. All right, so I brought up Bugs Bunny. We are going to be deploying our super cool delay 7-zip to Bugs Bunny. And I'll run the report so we can see what that looks like afterwards. Actually scan and then the report. So we're going to simulate the actual steps that are going to happen in regards to the timing in your schedule. So off to the races we go. So we'll minimize this. I will go to delay 7-zip. We will deploy this once to Bugs Bunny. I actually typed that right, so win for me. Pow. All right, off to the races it goes. So it should pop up a message. There it is. We're going to install update some software. Are you ready? If you select no, you'll be asked again in an hour. You can delay the install 3 more times. And it disappeared.
Your 10
There's
seconds
that
lapsed.
10-second timeout. Apparently I need to read faster. So at this point, it did if you ignore it,
It's installing it.
It's installing 7-zip. So while that's finishing, there it is, installing 7-zip. I'm going to go alter this. We're going to change that to, I don't know, that first step will change that delay to 15 seconds. How does that sound? Oh, it sounds good to me.
If 15 seconds?
You think I can read in 15 seconds?
Well, I think at this point where we're showcasing, I think I have the default set in there for 6 minutes.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, you just 15 or 10 is not enough. You want the user to be able to see it and have time to interact with it. Otherwise, it's going to run and they'll be upset.
Yeah. All right. So this actually succeeded. This time I'm going to read faster. We're going to do the same thing. So we'll just redeploy this again to 7-zip. It should come out and ask us again. Here we go. And we should have the same number of attempts because it already deleted that file, right? So here we go. Going to install 7-zip, blah, blah, blah. You have 3 more installs. I'm going to hit no this time. I beat the 15 seconds.
All right.
I did have to blah, blah, blah to get there, but at this point, we come back and look, and you'll notice it has failed. Okay? And there's a reason for that failure. We go and look, PowerShell script returning error code of 654. And then obviously stop the rest of the deployment. Jordan, the significance of 654?
I did a lot of market research
Oh, okay.
on the best way to randomly hit the keypad, and that's what I came up with.
So you just, boom, that's the new error code.
Yeah.
Now, as long as that error code is not in your success codes right here in our deployment, the only success code is a 0 at this point, it's going to error out, and we do have the option set to stop deployment with an error. Also, on this step, a key thing, you must make sure you run the message as the logged in user, otherwise you will be popping up that message
As system.
as the deployment, and the person will never see it. It'll wait the delay and then do the install. So a couple important steps there. All right, should we try this again?
Let's see if we can follow it to its conclusion.
All right, so at this point, this should be, we're going to redeploy it again.
If it doesn't say 2, then things aren't working.
If our math's not working. All right, you can delay the install 2 more times. I'm going to give it a no. Again, we should see this deployment fail again. It did fail with a 654. I'm glad you spent a lot of time Googling that.
Well, if you don't do it without market research, is there a point to it?
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Oh, you know what? Let's do this. Let's say the schedule. Let's do that scan part so we can see the scanner actually work. So I'm going to go to Bugs Bunny and we'll run that 7-zip delay, and then we'll kick that report off real quick and see that it actually is showing up in there with how many more options we got left. So we actually reports. Tell me I saved my report.
I don't think you did.
Dang it. Well, it's easy enough to build. You're going to have to trust me on it. Should I just rebuild it real quick?
Let's do it.
Okay. Report. Remind me to hit save this time. Basic report. Again, this is super simple. Computer name. We want that PowerShell 7. And we will do this twice. We want the last edit and then the count. Current count. Delay. 7. All right. I'm going to save it before we run it. We should now hopefully see that if we run this against everybody out here. Bugs Bunny has run. This is the time we run. We got 2 attempts left at this point, or it's marked at 2. So yeah, we're getting the info we need. Let's do it again. Except I'm not going to walk through that process again. We will just take it to fruition at this point. So back to deploy. Let us go and redeploy this again. Hit deploy, go to Bugs Bunny. Message comes up. It should say 1 attempt left. Nope, we don't want to do it. I'm going to close this error thingy that we already saw.
Boy, this is a very stubborn user.
Yeah, well, don't want to install it. So let's say it's delayed another hour. Now the schedule's kicked off. Once again, it deploys. Comes up on Mr. the Bunny. You're out of delays. We're now installing. Now, whether or not I hit the OK, it's going to install at this point. Same timeout.
Yeah, the timeout, the OK, or the X is going to run
It's
the
going to
install.
do the install. So at this point, so here's the hurdle, right? I mean, we showed you this. The hurdle between Getting to the end user and back is that PowerShell, and you're going to have to be able to query that file that's on the machine, get that information back and forth between deploy and the end user using the PowerShell. Want to do another question before I bring Jordan up to explain how all the magic on the back end works?
Sure. Hey guys, love the idea of users being able to choose whether or not they want the installation to occur. Is there any way to make the pop-up they get look more like a legitimate message, not just a generic message they usually ignore, with icons or images? Thanks guys, love the webcasts, Chris S.
Now, we used PowerShell to do the Jordan thoughts?
So, I mean, the way that I did it in PowerShell, I did a very basic one just because I could finish it in a single line, and that's looking for. You can make it far more complex. You can make it dominate the screen no matter what. Or change the icon up top so it's an error or whatever you want. You could even do a custom icon.
You can make it fancy, is what you're saying.
It's just customizing that script instead of doing the quick one-liner that I have. But anything you can have pop up with PowerShell, you can have pop up in that script.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You want another one, or should I let Jordan up here to show the magic? Let's do one more.
Hey guys, reading the script now, have you thought about adding another parameter like attempts/timeouts to name the software? That way the user knows what is being updated. Thanks, Evan S.
Absolutely. That's actually something I was going to showcase in the script. So
Yeah,
it's
well,
a
why
good
don't
time
I
to
get
swap.
out the way so you can see it?
Trying to steal Jordan's thunder there.
All right. Well, that is an excellent question. So in PowerShell, adding to another parameter isn't a big deal at all. You're just going to want to add a comma after the timeout, and we'll specify this one as a string. And then, no sign, except we'll spell that correctly. And that one, I don't really have a default in there. The reason I didn't add this is because without a default, if you have that variable within the package, it's going to put up something. So I guess you could put, in there with just for now, test. And then just down here on the message line on 16, we're going to install update, and then you do $package here. And then the last part to change would be
I like the grammar you left. We're going to install package, some package. I love it.
some package.
Some package.
And then just if you wanted to have that customized within the script itself, is just after the countdown here, you just come and do the -package, and then whatever you want to name it, Firefox or whatever. So it is absolutely possible to do as a quick add. It's just without having a default software to put in there, I didn't want to include the variable within the message itself. That's why I didn't add that one, but it is very easy to add. As far as how the rest of it goes, after we create these the parameters, it's going to come down and test if the countdown file already exists. If it doesn't exist, it's going to create it. If not, it's going to subtract one, so we're making sure they're getting the right number of attempts. And then basically, if attempts is greater than 0, then it's going to give them the option to hit no. And this is where we're doing the W script shell. The reason I did this one over a .NET one is the second line here, the $timeout. The timeout window is built into that one, where I didn't have to do any extra code, where if I do it with the .NET, you have to add the timer, and it's a lot more lines to add, and I just was looking for a quick one. But if you are looking for a different version to make it more professional anyway, you can still add the timeout. It's just a little bit extra steps on that one. And then it's the name of the window, and we're going to want to undo that. 4 is the yes/no option, and that does gray out the X. They can't hit X. They can only hit yes or no or have a timeout. And then if it is at 0, meaning they're out of attempts, that's where the 0 is just the OK button. And then after that, it's just a switch statement. If you are going to do the .NET one that we were talking about, it's a little more complex. The results for that, if they click yes, it's going to respond with yes. Where on this one, if they click yes, it's going to respond with the number 6. So you're going to want to make sure you update the switch statement to what the actual response is. But basically, it's just 1 means that they've hit 0, which means they had the OK or X button. 6 means they hit yes, and it's going to go through, if it has the file, remove it. The reason we do the test is if they hit yes on the first install, then there's going to be no file, and we just don't want to have that error. So it's if the file's there, then delete it. 7 means they hit no, and that's where we change the countdown from the file or create the file, and we specify our highly researched exit code. And -1 is the timeout period lapsed. I mean, there's not a whole lot to this one. It's just kind of a quick pop-up for the user, and then based on the results, it's going to create things, and registry works fine. We just did the file for this one. All right. And then as far as the scanner, I have the path on this one the same as the package. If you change the package, you want to make sure you change the scanner as well, which is why on the get download, it's just a variable that you can put in there instead of having to update all those lines.
Hey, what if I wanted to put that file in a different place instead of ctemp?
Well, you come to the top of the script here to find out the name of the parameter, and we see it's countdown file. So it would just be in here. We could do countdown file with the proper spelling. And then it is possible at this point, if you have a specific location per package, you can create a custom variable, and that will import that into there. At this point, I think instead of
intelligence.
Yeah, instead of ctemp, it's now ctemp temp, then the file.
Temp?
Temp, temp. I think that's what I made the variable. So that's pretty much everything for that one. It's not super complex, but you can customize it. You can have multiple packages for different, for different installers to be able to dive through it. And then as far as the reason on the scanner, we grabbed the last update. We'll just pull up the report here. You could create a collection based on this one, where basically if this is over an hour old, that means they have found a way around the logic somehow, and it's not even attempting anymore. So it's something where you could create a collection to basically, if the date here, there we go, the date there is over an hour, then you can either call and have a conversation, or my personal favorite, send it anyway.
Force it.
Send it.
Full contact IT.
Right. Do we have any more questions? Okay.
Hey guys, what if the local user does not have the admin rights to install apps? Thanks, Marcel L.
So we're running it as the login user, but it still has your permissions.
If you look at each step, so the step for the message is run as the logged on user, but the step for the install is, in this case, Quintana, who is set up as a domain admin. So you can set that per step.
Yeah, so this is just the pop-up boxes. There's everything else will be whatever you set.
Dear Jordan and Lex, is it possible to allow a package from the library to continue instead of stopping if an installation failed? This would be useful for multi-nested package installations. Thanks, Robert C.
Absolutely. Let's see if I can find that.
Do this. Add another nested package. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I guess we'll go to the nested package in this one. You can come in here and with error mode. Right now it's stopped appointment with error, but if there is an error, you could come in and say continue or stop with success. And that will give you a little bit more control on if you want to continue anyway. And then it will, in that one, let you know which steps failed. You might have to go and rerun those.
Guys, is it practical to scan a target during a deployment step because a later step in the package may be dependent on collection membership? Just trying to build more smarts into me package. Thanks, Chad B.
For that one, you can actually put in a scan step. So we'll say after the first one runs here, where we have the PowerShell, the next one we can come and set a scan where it scans as not the default, but our
Delay 7, yeah.
delay times it. That way, after that one runs, you would want to then put on the step 1 here where the options on error continue. So it's still going to give the error, but then it'll go down to this next one where it will scan, and then on this one you would want it to, after the scan still fell, so it doesn't go down to the install.
Yeah, you'd have some issues there. Obviously, I would do this. I'd scan the step and let it continue because the scan's going to run, and then put conditions on the install step, whether or not to run off of whatever dynamic collection you built from that scanner.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that point, after the scan, even without that, you could have like a file step where it looks for the file that's built there. Because if the file exists, that means it's not installed yet.
There you go.
Right.
Hey guys, speaking about pre-built packages, do you know why Google Chrome Enterprise install in the ProgramFiles location instead of ProgramFiles x86, even if your computer is 64-bit? Thanks, German P.
I don't know why they would do that.
I'm going to go with, I don't know. Well, let's ask Google.
That does sound inconvenient, though.
Yeah, it
Makes
does.
it a bit more hard to track down. I'm not sure why Google has that one. Whatever we have is just from the installer that they provide. So.
Yeah, it's kind of stumped us there.
Yep.
Hi, I love PDQ, but my organization is getting big. Is there any way I can assign a group of users to just deploy software? I will need some traceability as well. Thanks, GDP, German P.
The best thing I can think of is if you have the central server set up, you can set accounts that can open up that console for the deploy, but you can't really limit what they can do once they're in there.
You can determine who can use it, but once they can use it, they can do everything. Now, as for seeing what's done, if you go to inventory, or first let's pop open deploy, Jordan, and go look at deployments. So if you look, there we go, deployments. You can go grab any one of those deployments.
Anyone?
Yep. And you can see it was Bugs Bunny. If you scroll to the right, you can see who actually ran that. Okay, Quintana ran it. That's the deploy user. So there's some accountability there. It is also in inventory. You can look at all the deployments per machine, what was deployed, when it was deployed, and who deployed it. So there is some tracking there. But as for locking people down to certain, you can deploy, but and you can build packages. No, there's not that.
If there's certain ones you want to trust users to use but not yours, you can have the main credentials go in there where you have a hidden file or hidden folder where you can put those in there where other users can't see it, and unless you move them out of that folder.
Oh yeah, if you are in central server mode, everybody who has that has a private folder, and as long as it's in your private folder, only you can access that.
So that one, the more sensitive or the ones that you don't trust them for, you can put that into your private folder. Everyone else, they can see what's not in there, and so they're kind of limited what they can run on that one, but they
Good
could
point.
still build.
That's a good point.
Right. Okay.
Gentlemen, we have a large system, 10,700 plus computers. Is there server hardware recommended limit as well as best practices for the number of installs and scans at one time to get through scans and deployments without dragging down the system? Thanks, Jake.
I just shot a video last week. I think Jake finished editing it. It was on inventory best practices. And so here's the thing. I will say this. In regards to where to install it, definitely install it on a server because servers can handle more network connections. I like putting it on VMs so you can ratchet up and down your memory and your CPU, kind of find that sweet spot. And then if you watch that best practices video, it takes you through all the settings that will allow you to, and I go through how to calculate the best options. And again, each network's a little bit different, so I'll give you some parameters. Get it in this area, and you should see some pretty good results.
With that many devices, that's where intelligence becomes even more important because you only want to target specifically what you're looking for. If everything's just kind of scattershot, you're probably going to get a call from your network admin wondering what's going on. So, follow Alex's video, fine-tune, use best practices, and then just make sure you really hone in what you're scanning and deploying to only hit exactly what you're looking for.
All right, we have 2 more questions.
Okay.
Dear Lex and Jordan, any chance you'll ever add the ability for us to make our own custom packages that work like yours do, where a new version automatically updates any computers that have a previous version without having to mess with schedules and such?
So we have a webcast that covers most of this.
Actually, it does. It covers almost all of it, short of grabbing the new file and bringing it down.
Yeah, so basically it goes through, and it just, based on folder structure, it will go through and it'll update the package and your variables on both devices and handle all the things the same. You just have to basically provide the new installer and give it the folder with the name of the version. I think at some point
Colby just popped in there's the video. It's automating packages that aren't in our package library. So that's the video, and just so you know, Jordan and I, and I'm just going to say, Tim, thank you, Tim, for the script you sent us. We're going to update that because Tim showed us how to actually go out and auto pull that stuff down. So
So we'll basically do a web scrape and we'll pull it down for you as it updates. And then that should be able to almost completely replicate
yeah,
with that one.
that's going to be a future webcast, guys. Look for that one.
The only thing that's going to be missing is the testing. So every time new installs come out for us that's in our package library, we test, make sure they install the way it's supposed to. On this one, if something changed in that installer, it's just going to break and we don't have a way to test for that. So that's the only thing you're still going to have to account for.
Yep.
Okay, actually 2 more now.
Yeah, 2 more questions. Hey, y'all, can we create a package for fonts in PDQ, which will be installed by install step instead of creating script via CMD or PowerShell? Thanks, Div.
Installing fonts is something that I'm familiar with.
I think it depends on, the font installer probably. I mean, I don't use a lot of fonts.
Yeah.
I can't even type. Come on.
Yeah, I do know that they don't always work the way you're expecting on the install. So
It really
I
depends.
can't answer that. It depends when if there's one font package you're looking specifically for. If you hit up support, I bet they can help you work through that and get that
Yeah.
working.
Our final question comes from the talented Darren B. Is there any intelligence for failover with Central Server?
So if your central server fails over, does it?
Your central server, your server fails, it rolls to the next one.
We don't have anything like that.
Well, you could do this, right? I mean, let's say you've got Central Server 1 and Central Server 2. You could have a script that just repoints your clients. I mean, I don't know, that's failover, but it makes it easier.
You would have something that then updated both of them. That you're doubling your updates per thing.
Yeah,
so
that's a
the
good
failover
point.
would work, but we don't have a way to.
There's a lot of moving parts there.
Yeah, not natively that I can think of.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, this gives you a good start to roll for. Intelligence means, hit the targets you want to and fine tune based on the ever-changing environment. If you follow the collections, the scanners, and hopefully the PowerShell is useful, you can get your entire environment automated without having to touch it. For PDQ.com, I'm Jordan.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Robert C. and Jake A., winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.